We are just a few months from the 3-year anniversary of the beginning of the war in Ukraine, but that war tonight is still in full force. Since the beginning of the war, 190,000 people have been killed and 285,000 have been injured. News 3's Morgan Rydell sat down with one man hoping to raise awareness about what will be left over when that war comes to an end.
Rusty, today I met Jacob Kepka. He's a 67-year-old Canadian amputee who spent a month riding his bike over 700 miles from Poland to Kyiv, the capital city of Ukraine. He told me riding his bike was a way of coping with losing his right leg after serving in both the U.S. and Canadian militaries. Jacob did this ride not only to show the people of Ukraine that the West is still paying attention, but to raise awareness for the massive number of amputations that come with war.
A lot of these men and women are multiple limb amputees. Then you have to deal with people with spinal cord injuries, head injuries.
Recent reports show there's been over 500,000 deaths or injuries to troops in Ukraine and Russia. Jacob Kepka says these injuries aren't just broken legs or scrapes, but life-changing injuries he saw firsthand during his ride.
6 weeks ago was 100 to 120,000 amputees, new ones. A lot of these are complicated amputations and multiple limb. And they don't have the qualified personnel to do it. They're playing catch up. Such numbers haven't been seen since the First World War. The United States would not be able to handle that many amputees.
Since the U.S. election, more eyes have been on the war in Ukraine after reports said President-elect Donald Trump called Russian President Vladimir Putin to discuss the war. These claims have been denied by Russian spokespeople who say the call never happened. This was following one of the deadliest days of war both countries have seen since fighting began almost 3 years ago. Jacob says when headlines like these cross our screens, he wants everyone to understand families are being torn apart.
The fatigue I can understand. You know, you hear about it and that, but when you see what the war is doing, not just to the bodies of these soldiers and civilians, but to their, some are gung-ho and they're all ready to go get back to life, and others are not.
Jacob told me this ride would have never been possible without the help from a Brazos Valley nonprofit and residents here who supported their cause. More about that later in the show. Live in studio, Morgan Rydell, News 3.
Morgan, thank you. It's now been a